Hello everyone, peace be upon you all. This is the first video of the series in which we will analyze, God willing, Ibn Taymiyyah's book known as بيان تلبيس الجهمية في تأسيس بدعهم الكلامية, meaning demonstrating the Jahmites' deception in establishing their theological innovations. Demonstrating the Jahmites' deception in establishing their theological innovations, also known in short as the demonstration of deceit. First of all, we want to know first who the Jahmis are, because Ibn Taymiyyah himself never defined who they are. In this video, we are going to read the article by the Oxford Handbook of Islamic Theology on the Jahmis. This book is a reliable source of information for both Muslims and non-Muslims. It was translated into Arabic a couple of years ago, and it is used as an authoritative reference. First, we are going to read the Arabic introduction by the eminent Egyptian scholar, Sheikh Hassan al-Shafi'i. But first, and this is the last time I say first, I have to explain the importance of this scholar. Sheikh Hassan al-Shafi'i is a professor of Islamic theology and philosophy at Cairo University and the former president of the Arabic Language Complex, a respectful research independent institute affiliated with the Minister of Higher Education, and most importantly, he is a member of the Senior Scholars Authority of Al-Azhar, the most prestigious Sunni university in the Islamic world, and former advisor of the Grand Imam and head of the professional office in the presidency of Al-Azhar, and also the Council of the Elders of Muslims. He was also nominated by Sheikh of Al-Azhar, the Grand Imam, to represent Al-Azhar in the Constitutional Committee of Egypt in 2012. And he was recently awarded with the King Faisal International Prize for services to Islam. And now let's read his introduction, which I translated. And let's read. Among the fruits of this generation, praise be to God, which started to emerge in Egypt and its Arab sisters, the valuable work for which we are writing this introduction with these pages and these wishes. The generation which conveys to us a scientific work on the history of Islamic theology. This is the title of the Arabic translation, which was prepared through a scientific project, not the translation, the original work, within the framework of the British University of Oxford, and it was edited by the German orientalist Sabine Schmitka, who also contributed to it. And this book is a work of extreme importance from an academic point of view and is characterized by a comprehensive and contemporary view of the history of this science, meaning Islamic theology, and its contemporary reality. 37 researchers, including 7 from the Islamic world, have contributed to this work, which Dr. Sabine Schmitka began with an extensive introduction showing its features and purpose and pointing to the modern phenomena in the field of Western research in this subject. This work is characterized by having an active and aware scientific management and many different expertise that almost include all the scientific research centers in the field of humanities worldwide, especially in the West, not to mention, naturally, the generous financial resources allocated to it. Hence, the readers of this translation from among Arab scholars and intellectuals will clearly see that it treats areas that we rarely come across in our Arabic research. Most notably, the attention paid to the beginnings and precursors that preceded the mature and stable schools, such as the Kharijis and Jahmis and the early Mu'tazilis, these are not the stable schools. These are the beginnings and precursors, the Kharijis, Jahmis, and Mu'tazilis. And in this translation, there is also newly discovered manuscripts that were almost lost or at least unknown. And it is thanks to the relentless search that it was found, and presented for theologians as edited texts and sources of truth testifying to the intellectual history of Muslims in one of its most original fields, that is Islamic theology. In addition, this work is characterized in its treatment of the stable schools of thought themselves, but with new modern eyes, whether the predominant Sunni ones, to which adheres most of the contemporary Islamic world, the Ash'ari and Maturidi schools, or the Shi'i ones, the Twelver and Ismaili schools, or the middle ones, the Ibadi and Zaidi schools. And I, as among the theologians, am confident that the Arab scientific community will welcome and celebrate this work, God willing. The translation of this valuable work was provided by a man who is a memorizer of the Book of God, exalted he is, and a graduate of an institute which is still striving to overcome the waves of weakness and deterioration suffered by Egyptian education to some extent. I mean the faculty of Dar al-Ulum in the University of Cairo, and he was at the forefront of its graduates. Then he specialized in the study of Islamic jurisprudence and its origins, and wrote a master's thesis on the jurisprudential thought of Muhyiddin ibn al-Arabi, and then it was facilitated for him by God to spend quite a few years on a mission to France in which he proved the seriousness of the sons of the Da if they are given the appropriate opportunity, according to the testimony of the professors there. And he took it upon himself, once he returned, to undertake the task of recommending communication with the modern Western thought after his Western alienation, which matured his eligibility for this intellectual task not only in the French language but also in the English language. The translator is Dr. Osama Muhammad Shafi'uddin As-Sayyid, a teacher now in the Department of Islamic Sharia at Dar al-Ulum, and he is a descendant of a family of scientists, as his father is a member of the Arabic language complex in Cairo and works as a full-time professor in critical and rhetorical studies at the faculty of Dar al-Ulum at the University of Cairo. I interject here to say that, unfortunately, both of them have passed away, and may God have mercy on them. And now we continue. The Department of Islamic Law had previously sent one of its men to England, and after his return, he chose a work by one of the most prominent English Orientalists, Khurāsān, on the history of Islamic legislation in the contemporary Islamic world, and he is Dr. Muhammad Siraj, now a professor of Islamic studies at the American University in Cairo, and the author of these lines was destined to contribute with him to it to some extent. This man, who I think competes with Dr. Muhammad Shafi'uddin As-Sayyid, the father of our young translator, in happiness and joy with this new work and this successful translation that continues his series of steps within his efforts in this department, even if the results were delayed for a distant time, for a wisdom only known by God the wise, the knower. And perhaps the writer of these lines has the right to share this feeling and to enjoy this happiness, and calls on our young researcher to continue working without boredom or tiredness and to produce what he has of French texts. And we pray to God to bless him and his deeds and the likes of our emerging patient youth. And God is the guardian of success and acceptance, and praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds. And I also share with them this overjoy, and I have shared this book with many members of my family and relatives, and I'm happy to say that they found it very useful as well. And now let's start reading the actual essay on Jahm and his followers, the Jahmiyyah, in the Oxford Handbook of Islamic Theology. This is chapter 3, titled Jahm ibn Ṣafwān and the Jahmiyyah and Dirar ibn Amr. The B is an abbreviation for Ibn, so Jahm ibn Ṣafwān, which means Jahm, the son of Ṣafwān. This is how Arabs used to call people in the past. And the so-called Jahmiyyah are the followers of Jahm, the Jahmis, or the Jahmites. These are the dates of their death. Usually we do not get to know their birthdays, but we only get to know their dates of death. This is the Hijri calendar, and this is the Gregorian or Christian calendar. The Islamic calendar starts from the migration of the Prophet from Mecca to Medina. So this is after 128 years from the migration. The Prophet has died at the year 10, so this is after 118 years from the death of the Prophet, meaning the death of Jahm. So if Jahm has lived about 60 years, then he might have been born at the year 60 or 70. So after 60 or 50 years after the death of the Prophet. So he might be from the second or the third generations of Muslims. And I read, Jahm ibn Ṣafwān and Dirar ibn Amr rank among the first Muslim scholars to deal with issues pertaining to philosophy of nature, ontology, and epistemology. Ontology means the philosophy of nature, and epistemology means the philosophy of knowledge. Now I continue. Jahm lived and taught in northeastern Iran, and it may well be that he never left the territory of Khurāsān. Khurāsān, which is the area of Central Asia, which includes Iran, Afghanistan, a little part of Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. And the piece or the part in brackets is the source or the reference if you want to confirm this piece of information. This chapter focuses on main issues and key concepts of Jahm's and Dirar's doctrines, and on similarities in respect of which an adversary like al-Nizam, who died before the year 232, saw an intellectual kinship between them. And here we reach the end of the video, and we are going to continue later, and see you then in the next video, and goodbye, and peace be upon you.